Commander HFY stared at the screen in front of him. The numbers made no sense. His ship's sensors were showing energy readings that should not exist. Not from Earth, not after 1,000 years of nothing. "Run the scan again," he told his crew. His voice was calm, but his forearms were shaking slightly. The Alterian had lived for 300 years, and he had never seen readings like these. The young officer at the sensor station looked nervous. "Sir, I have run it 5 times already. The results are the same every time. Earth is showing massive energy output, more than our entire home world produces." HFY walked closer to the screen. The blue and green planet looked the same as it always had. But the sensors told a different story. Energy signatures were coming from all over the planet. Not just a few spots, everywhere. "This must be a mistake," said Science Officer Villana. She was from the Crystalline Collective, and her people were known for their careful thinking. "Earth has been dead for 1,000 years. No signals, no ships, no contact at all." HFY knew she was right. Every species in the galaxy knew about Earth. It was the planet that went silent. The humans had been active once. They had colonies on dozens of worlds. They sent out trade ships and exploration vessels. They talked to other species and made deals. Then one day, they just stopped. It happened slowly at first. The trade ships stopped coming. The exploration vessels went home and never left again. The colonies went quiet. When other species tried to contact Earth, there was no answer. The radio signals that had once filled space from the human worlds just ended. The Galactic Confederation had sent investigation teams. They found the human colonies empty but not destroyed. The cities were intact. The power was still on in many places. But there were no humans anywhere. It was like they had all just walked away from everything they had built. Some species thought the humans had killed themselves in a war. Others believed they had transcended to another dimension. A few thought they had simply given up and gone into hiding. But after 100 years of silence, most of the galaxy stopped caring. Earth was marked as a dead world, and life went on. That was 900 years ago. "Sir," the sensor officer said again, "the energy readings are increasing. Whatever is happening down there, it is getting stronger." HFY felt a chill run through his body. His species had been spacefaring for over 2,000 years. They had seen many strange things in the galaxy, but this felt different. This felt dangerous. "Send a message to Confederation Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have detected unusual activity in the Sol system. Request instructions. Should we move closer to investigate?" Asked Vlana.zeph I thought about it. His ship was small but fast. It was designed for mapping and survey work, not for dangerous missions. But his orders were to investigate any unusual activity in the sector. Earth definitely qualified as unusual. "Take us closer," he said, "but stay at maximum sensor range. I want to know what is happening, but I do not want to get too close until we understand what we are dealing with." The ship moved toward Earth. As they got closer, the sensor readings became even more confusing. The energy signatures were not random. They formed patterns across the planet's surface. Complex patterns that looked almost like a giant circuit board. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "I am detecting artificial structures on the surface, very large ones. They were not there in any of our previous scans of the system." "Show me," HFY said. The main screen changed to show Earth's surface. Where once there had been cities and forests, now there were massive geometric shapes, towers that reached into the sky, rings of metal that stretched for hundreds of kilometers, arrays of unknown devices that pulsed with energy. "When did these appear?" HFY asked. "Unknown, sir. Our last detailed scan of Earth was 50 years ago. They were definitely not there then. 50 years was nothing in galactic terms. Most major construction projects took centuries to complete. But somehow, The humans had built these massive structures in less than 50 years. If they were humans who built them. "Sir, incoming transmission from Confederation Command," the communications officer announced. Sci-Fi straightened his uniform. "Put it through." The face of Admiral Korath appeared on the screen. The Draconian was old and experienced. He had been in charge of this sector for over a century. "Commander Sci-Fi," the Admiral said. "Your report is concerning. Are you certain of your readings?" "Yes, sir. We have triple-checked everything. Earth is showing energy output that exceeds anything we have on record. And there are new structures on the surface. Massive ones." Admiral Korath was quiet for a moment. "The humans have been gone for 1,000 years, Commander. Everyone knows this." "Yes, sir. But something is happening on Earth. Something big." "Very well," the Admiral said. "Maintain your position and continue monitoring. Do not approach the planet. Do not attempt contact. Just watch and report. I am sending additional ships to your location. Understood, sir." The transmission ended. Sci-Fi looked at his crew. They all seemed nervous. Even Valana, who was usually calm about everything, looked worried. "Sir," the sensor officer said quietly, "the energy readings just spiked again. And sir, I think something is launching from the planet." Sci-Fi spun around to look at the sensors. Sure enough, multiple objects were rising from Earth's surface. They were moving fast, very fast. "Analysis," he ordered. "They appear to be ships, sir, but unlike any design in our database. They are using some kind of propulsion system we do not recognize." Sci-Fi watched as the unknown ships climbed away from Earth. They were not heading toward his vessel. They seemed to be heading in different directions, spreading out across the solar system. "Sir," Valana said slowly, "I think we need to consider the possibility that the humans never left. I think they have been here all along." Sci-Fi nodded. That was exactly what he was thinking. But if the humans had been on Earth for the past 1,000 years, what had they been doing? And why were they suddenly active again? As he watched the unknown ships disappear into space, Sci-Fi had the feeling that the galaxy was about to find out. And he was not sure anyone was ready for the answer. 3 kilometers beneath the surface of what used to be called the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Elena Vasquez walked through corridors that stretched farther than any eye could see. The walls glowed with a soft blue light that came from materials unknown to the old world. Her footsteps made no sound on the smooth floor. She was human, but not in the way her ancestors would recognize. Her eyes glowed with a faint silver light. Thin lines of circuitry ran along her arms, visible beneath skin that was stronger than steel, but still felt warm to the touch. Her mind was connected to the vast network that linked every human settlement across the planet and beyond. Elena was heading to the central command chamber. Today was the day they had all been waiting for. After 1,000 years of preparation, humanity was ready to return to the stars. The corridor opened into a massive chamber that could have held a dozen cities. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. Thousands of people worked at stations that floated in the air without any visible support. Holographic displays showed information from across the galaxy, but these were not the humans that had once lived on Earth's surface. Each person in the chamber had been changed in some way. Some had mechanical arms that could think for themselves. Others had additional eyes that could see beyond normal light. A few seemed to be made more of energy than flesh, their bodies shifting and changing as they worked. "Director Vasquez," called a voice behind her. Elena turned to see Marcus Chun approaching. He had been her partner in the final stages of the great project. Like her, he looked human at first glance. But the way he moved showed that his body had been improved in ways that went beyond normal understanding. "Marcus," she said, "are the final calculations complete?" "Yes, the emergent scenarios have been tested 1,000,000 times in simulation." Every possible response from the galactic powers has been considered. We are ready. Elena nodded and walked to the center of the chamber. Around her, a circular platform rose from the floor. As she stepped onto it, holographic displays surrounded her, showing the current state of the galaxy. "Show me the surface activity," she said. The displays changed to show Earth's surface. Where once there had been oceans and continents, now there were massive installations that covered entire regions. Towers that reached into space. Manufacturing centers that could build ships faster than the old world could build cars. Energy. Collectors that drew power from dimensions that normal science said did not exist. "The surface transformation is complete," Marcus reported. "All manufacturing centers are online. The dimensional gates are ready for activation. The fleet construction. Bays have produced more ships than the rest of the galaxy combined." Elena smiled. It had taken 1,000 years, but humanity had finally achieved what they had set out to do. They had become something more than what they were. The Great Withdrawal had not been an escape. It had been a strategic decision made by the entire human race. When they first encountered other species in the galaxy, humans quickly realized they were at a disadvantage. They were weaker than most aliens. They lived shorter lives. Their technology was primitive compared to civilizations that had existed for millions of years. But humans had one advantage that no other species possessed. They could change. They could adapt. They could become something new when the old ways were not enough. So they had made a choice. Instead of trying to compete with superior aliens using inferior abilities, they would withdraw from the galaxy and rebuild themselves from the ground up. Every human settlement was abandoned. Every colony was evacuated. The entire species had come home to Earth to begin the greatest transformation in history. The first century had been spent designing the underground cities. Massive habitats were carved out beneath every continent and ocean floor. These were not simple shelters, but entire worlds built in the depths of the planet. Cities that could house billions of people in comfort and safety. The second century was dedicated to genetic research. Human scientists worked to unlock every secret of biological life. They learned to rewrite DNA like computer code. They discovered how to enhance human abilities without losing what made them human. Strength, speed, intelligence, lifespan, everything could be improved. The third century brought advances in cybernetics and artificial intelligence. Humans learned to merge their minds with machines in ways that enhanced both. They created AI, systems that were truly intelligent, but still loyal to human values. They built technology that responded to thought rather than physical control. 4th through 7th centuries were spent on physics research that went beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans discovered new dimensions of reality. They learned to manipulate time and space in limited ways. They found sources of energy that seemed to violate the laws of science. The 8th and 9th centuries were dedicated to integration. All the advances in biology, technology, and physics were combined into a unified system. Humans became beings that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Their minds could process information at speeds that made computers look slow. Their bodies could adapt to any environment in real time. The 10th century was spent in preparation, building the surface installations, creating the fleets, planning for every possible scenario when they returned to galactic civilization. "Director," said a new voice. Elena turned to see Sarah Kim, the head of external monitoring. "We are receiving reports from our observation posts throughout the galaxy. Several alien survey ships have detected our surface activity." "Show me," Elena said. The displays changed to show various alien vessels scattered across local space. Each ship was being monitored by human observers who had been in position for decades. The aliens thought they were discovering something new, but humans had been watching them the entire time. "The Alterian survey ship near our system has reported." "To their command," Sarah continued. Additional ships are being dispatched to investigate. Alina felt a surge of excitement. This was the moment they had planned for. The galaxy was finally going to learn that humanity had returned. "Activate the emergence protocol," she said. Her voice carried across the chamber through the neural network that connected every human mind. Throughout the vast, underground cities, millions of people stopped what they were doing and turned their attention to the displays that appeared in their minds. After 1,000 years of preparation, it was time. "Send the message," Alina ordered, "across the galaxy. On every world where intelligent life existed, communication systems suddenly activated with a signal that could not be blocked or ignored. The message was simple and direct, transmitted in every known language simultaneously. This is Earth. We have returned. Withdraw from all territories formerly claimed by humanity. You have 7 standard days to comply." Elena smiled as she watched the chaos that erupted across the galaxy. Governments that had forgotten humans ever existed were suddenly scrambling to understand what was happening. Military commanders who thought Earth was a dead world were trying to figure out how such a message was even possible. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans went quiet, it was not because they had given up. It was because they were getting ready to speak with a voice that could not be ignored. High Chancellor Vextar of the Galactic Confederation sat in his throne room on the capital world of Nexus Prime. His massive form filled the chair that had been built for leaders twice the size of most species. Around him, holographic displays showed reports coming in from across the galaxy. Every single one of them was about the same thing: the message from Earth. "This cannot be real," he said to his advisors. His voice was deep and rumbling, like distant thunder. "Humans have been extinct for 1,000 years. Everyone knows this." His chief military advisor, General Corvin, stepped forward. The insect-like being's 4 eyes glowed with concern. "High Chancellor, the message was transmitted using technology we do not understand. It bypassed all our security systems. It reached every world in the Confederation simultaneously." "Impossible," Vextar said. "No single world has that kind of communication power. Not even our capital world could send a message to every system at the same time." "Nevertheless, it happened," said Science Advisor Talani. Her crystalline body sparkled as she spoke. "We have confirmed the signal originated from the Sol system, from Earth specifically." Vextar stood up slowly. His species, the Dominators, had ruled the Confederation for over 500 years. They were strong, intelligent, and had never been challenged by any other race. The idea that extinct humans were making demands was ridiculous. "What exactly did this message say?" he asked. General Corvin activated a recording device. The same message that had shocked the galaxy played again. A human voice, speaking clearly in every language known to exist. "This is Earth. We have returned. Withdraw from all territories formerly claimed by humanity. You have 7 standard days to comply." "7 days," Vextar laughed. It was a sound like rocks grinding together. "They give us 7 days to abandon territories we have controlled for centuries. Do they think we are children?" "High Chancellor," Talani said carefully, "there is more. Our sensors are detecting massive energy readings from Earth. The entire planet appears to have been transformed into some kind of technological installation." "Show me," Vextar ordered. The holographic displays changed to show images of Earth taken by long-range sensors. The planet looked nothing like the historical records. Where once there had been blue oceans and green continents, now there were geometric patterns of metal and energy that covered the entire surface. Massive structures reached into space. Arrays of unknown devices pulsed with power that registered off all known scales. "This is unexpected," Vextar admitted. "But it changes nothing. If humans have somehow survived and built these installations, they are still just one world. The Confederation controls thousands of systems. We have fleets that number in the millions of ships. Sir, said Communications Director Yalath, we are receiving additional reports. Human ships have been detected in multiple systems throughout the galaxy. They appeared without warning and seem to be using some form of technology. We cannot identify. What do you mean they appeared? Vextar demanded. They did not travel through normal space, sir. Our sensors show them simply materializing at their destinations. No hyperspace signatures, no dimensional rifts. They just appear. Vextar felt a cold sensation in his stomach. His species had been spacefaring for 3,000 years. They understood the technology used by every known civilization. But this was something new. How many ships? He asked. Over 10,000 detected so far, sir. And the number is growing. They are taking positions near former human colonies and strategic installations throughout Confederation space. Are they attacking? General Corvin asked. No, sir. They are just waiting, watching. But sir, our analysis of their ship shows technology that is centuries ahead of anything in our databases, maybe thousands of years ahead. Vextar walked to the great window that looked out over the capital city. Millions of beings from hundreds of species lived and worked in the massive towers that stretched to the horizon. The Confederation had brought peace and order to the galaxy for over a millennium. They would not be threatened by ghosts from the past. Send a message to Earth, he ordered. Tell them the Confederation does not negotiate with terrorists. Tell them if they do not withdraw their ships immediately, we will consider it an act of war. Talani looked worried. High Chancellor, perhaps we should try to communicate more diplomatically. We do not understand what we are dealing with. I know exactly what we are dealing with, Vextar said firmly. An extinct species that has somehow managed to build a few advanced ships. They think they can intimidate the greatest civilization in galactic history. They are wrong. The message was sent to Earth. The response came back in less than an hour. This time, it was not just audio. The signal hijacked every communication system in Confederation space. Every screen, every display, every communication device suddenly showed the same image. A human woman appeared on the screens. She looked young, but her eyes held an intelligence that seemed ancient. When she spoke, her voice carried a calm authority that made even Vextar pay attention. I am Director Elena Vasquez, speaking for humanity, she said. We gave you 7 days to withdraw from our former territories. That was not a request. It was a courtesy. You have chosen to respond with threats. Very well. Allow us to demonstrate why threats are unnecessary. The transmission ended. Within minutes, reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. On Altara Prime, the main Confederation naval base, every ship in the fleet suddenly found their weapons systems offline. The massive defense platforms that protected the system simply shut down. Human ships appeared in orbit, but they did not attack. They just waited. On the mining world of Kepler-7, all the automated extraction equipment stopped working. The artificial intelligence systems that controlled the operations displayed the same message. This facility is under new management. On the trade hub of Nexus Station, every computer system was infected with a virus that displayed human poetry and music. The station's defenses were completely disabled, but again, no attacks came. Similar reports came from dozens of worlds, hundreds of installations, thousands of ships. All disabled simultaneously, all without a single shot being fired. How is this possible? General Corvin asked. His voice was barely a whisper. Vextar stared at the reports in disbelief. The humans had somehow taken control of Confederation systems across the entire galaxy. In a matter of hours, they had demonstrated capabilities that no known technology could achieve. Sir, Communications Director Yalath said urgently. We are receiving another transmission from Earth. Elena Vasquez appeared on the screens again. This time she was smiling. 6 days and 23 hours remaining, she said simply. We suggest you use that time wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the Confederation leadership in stunned silence. They were beginning to understand that this was not a negotiation. It was not even a threat. It was a statement of fact. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, and they had returned as something that made their former selves look like children playing with toys. Vextar slowly sat back down in his throne. For the first time in his 500-year life, he was genuinely afraid. The galaxy was about to change in ways that no one could predict, and humanity was in control of that change. Admiral Thokra commanded the largest battle fleet in Confederation history. 2 million ships of every size and class spread across space in a formation that could be seen from neighboring star systems. He had gathered vessels from every member world of the Confederation. This was their answer to humanity's demands. All fleet commanders report ready for battle, his aide announced. The young Vorthan's scales were bright with excitement. This would be the largest military operation anyone had ever seen. Thokra nodded grimly. His own species, the Kroner, had been warriors for 10,000 years. They had never lost a major battle. Today would not be the first time. Send the message to Earth, he ordered. Tell the humans they have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If they refuse, we will reduce their world to dust. The message was transmitted. The response came back immediately. It was the same human woman who had spoken before, Elena Vasquez, but this time she looked sad rather than threatening. Admiral Thokra, she said, somehow knowing exactly who would receive the message. We had hoped the Confederation would choose wisdom over violence. You have disappointed us. Very well. You want to see what humanity has become. We will show you. The transmission ended. For a moment, nothing happened. The massive fleet waited in perfect formation, weapons charged and ready to fight. Then space itself began to change. Admiral, the sensor officer called out, his voice shaking. I am detecting massive spatial distortions throughout the fleet. Formation, explain, Thokra demanded. Sir, it appears that reality is bending around us. The laws of physics are being altered in localized areas. Before Thokra could respond, the first human ships began to appear. But they did not arrive the way ships were supposed to arrive. They seemed to step out of empty space, as if invisible doors were opening to let them through. How many? Thokra asked. Unknown, sir. They keep appearing, and sir, they are not following normal physical laws. Some of them appear to exist in multiple locations at the same time. Thokra looked at his tactical display. Human ships were materializing throughout his formation. Not in front of it or behind it, but mixed in among his own vessels. It should have been impossible. No ship could appear inside another fleet's formation without causing massive collisions. All ships, open fire. He commanded. The order was transmitted across the fleet. 2 million ships turned their weapons toward the human vessels and fired. Simultaneously, the amount of energy released could have destroyed entire solar systems, but something impossible happened. The energy from their weapons simply disappeared. Every shot, every missile, every beam of destructive force just vanished the moment it touched a human ship. Sir, the weapons officer reported, our attacks are having no effect. The human ships appear to be absorbing our energy and converting it into their own power. That is impossible, Thokra said. No shield technology can absorb that much energy. Sir, I do not think they are using shields. I think they are using something else entirely. As if to prove the point, one of the human ships began to change shape. Its hull flowed like liquid metal, reforming itself into a configuration that hurt to look at. It was as if the ship existed in more dimensions than normal space could contain. Admiral, the communications officer announced, the human ships are transmitting. The main screen activated. Instead of showing one person, it showed dozens. Humans. In strange armor that seemed to be made of light and shadow. Their faces were calm, but their eyes held power that made veteran warriors step backward. "Confederation fleet," one of them said. "You have chosen to attack us. This was unwise. We will now demonstrate why." The human ships began to move. But calling it movement was not accurate. They shifted through space in ways that ignored distance and time. A ship that was on the far edge of the formation would suddenly be next to the command vessel. Ships that appeared to be solid would pass through other vessels like ghosts. "Sir," the tactical officer said urgently, "the human ships are not targeting our vessels. They are targeting our crews." "What do you mean?" Thokra demanded. "Some kind of energy beam is passing through our hulls without damaging them, but everyone it touches is falling unconscious. Sir, they are disabling our crews without harming our ships." Across the fleet, the same thing was happening. Human weapons that could pass through solid matter were putting entire ship crews to sleep. Within minutes, thousands of Confederation vessels were drifting in space with no one awake to control them. But that was not the most frightening part. The most frightening part was how the humans were doing it. Their ships moved with a precision that was impossible. They avoided every collision, disabled every target, and did it all while seeming to exist in multiple places at once. "Admiral," his aide whispered, "I think we need to retreat." Thokra wanted to agree. But before he could give the order, something else happened. The space around his command ship began to glow with soft blue light. He felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the air itself was becoming electric. Then Elena Vasquez was standing on his bridge, not on a screen. Not as a hologram. She was physically present, standing 3 meters away from him. She had somehow transported herself from Earth directly onto his ship while it was in the middle of a battle. "Admiral Thokra," she said politely, "we need to talk." Every weapon on the bridge was instantly pointed at her. Dozens of trained soldiers had their guns aimed at the human woman. She looked at them with what seemed like mild interest. "Please do not make this more difficult than necessary," she said. "Your weapons cannot harm me, and firing them will only result in your own people being injured." "You are one person," Thokra growled. "We are many." "I am one person, Elena." "Agreed, but I am not here alone." More humans began to appear on the bridge. They materialized out of thin air, each one wearing the same strange armor that seemed to bend light around it. Within seconds, there were more humans on the bridge than Confederation crew members. "How?" Thokra asked. "How are you doing this?" "We learn to move beyond the limitations of normal space," Elena explained. "Distance is meaningless to us now. Physical barriers are suggestions rather than rules. We exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." "This is impossible," Thokra said. "No species can develop such technology. No species has ever tried the way we tried," Elena replied. "When we withdrew from the galaxy, we spent 1,000 years learning to become something new. We pushed beyond every boundary that limited us. We transcended the rules that confined other species." She gestured toward the tactical display, which now showed the battle from a human perspective. The Confederation fleet was completely disabled. Not destroyed, but rendered helpless. Every ship drifted in space with its crew unconscious and its systems under human control. "This is what we became," Elena said. "We are still human in our hearts and minds. But we are no longer limited by human weaknesses. We can exist anywhere in the galaxy instantly. We can reshape matter and energy with our thoughts. We can rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas." "What do you want?" Thokra asked. He was beginning to understand that this was not a battle his people could win. "We want what we have always wanted," Elena said. "A place in the galaxy where humanity can exist safely. But we will not be weak again. We will not be helpless again. The old humanity was vulnerable because we accepted limitations. The new humanity has moved beyond such constraints. She looked around the bridge at the Confederation officers. Most of them were staring at her in fear and awe. "Your fleet is defeated," she said simply. "Not destroyed, because we do not wish to kill unless necessary, but defeated completely. Return to your leaders. Tell them that humanity's 7-day deadline still stands. We prefer peace, but we will accept war if that is what the galaxy chooses." Elena and the other humans began to fade away, disappearing as mysteriously as they had arrived. "Remember," Elena's voice said as she vanished, "we withdrew from the galaxy once to become strong enough to protect ourselves. If you force us to do so again, we will return as something even more beyond your understanding." Thokra stood alone on his bridge, looking at the tactical display that showed his mighty fleet floating helplessly in space. For the first time in his long military career, he understood what true defeat looked like. The humans had not just won a battle. They had demonstrated that the very concept of battle had become meaningless when facing them. They existed beyond the rules that governed normal warfare. The galaxy would never be the same. High Chancellor Vextar sat in his chamber, looking at reports from across the galaxy. The 7 days were over. Humanity had kept their promise. Every former human territory was now under human control. Every Confederation military installation in those systems had been disabled without a single shot being fired. The great Confederation fleet was returning home. 2 million ships, the pride of galactic civilization, had been defeated by an enemy they could not even touch. The crews were alive but humiliated. Their admiral had resigned in shame. "They could have destroyed us all," General Corvin said quietly. "They had the power to wipe out every ship in the fleet. But they chose not to." "Why?" Vextar asked. "If they are so powerful, why show mercy to enemies?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber filled with soft light. Elena Vasquez materialized in the center of the room, just as she had appeared on Admiral Thokra's ship. But this time she was not alone. Dozens of other humans appeared with her, representing different aspects of their transformed civilization. "Huh. Chancellor," Elena said with a respectful nod. "Thank you for receiving us. Did we have a choice?" Vextar asked. His voice was bitter, but not hostile. The demonstrations of human power had taught him that resistance was pointless. "You always have a choice," Elena replied. "That is something we learned during our 1,000 years of growth. Every being in the galaxy has the right to choose their own path. We are not here to take that away from you." She gestured, and holographic displays filled the air around them. They showed images of the galaxy as it was now. Human ships were positioned throughout space, but they were not occupying worlds or enslaving populations. They were simply present. "What do you want from us?" Vextar asked. "We want to offer you the same thing we offered ourselves," Elena said. "The chance to become more than what you are." One of the other humans stepped forward. He looked young, but his eyes held the wisdom of centuries. "I am Dr. Marcus Chun," he said. "I study the development of consciousness and intelligence. We have learned things during our transformation that could benefit every species in the galaxy." "Such as?" asked Science Advisor Talani. Her crystalline form sparkled with curiosity despite her fear. "We have solved the problems of aging, disease, and death," Marcus explained. "We have learned to enhance intelligence without losing creativity. We have discovered how to expand consciousness beyond the limitations of single bodies. We can teach these things to any species that wishes to learn." Elena activated another display. This one showed human settlements throughout the galaxy. But they were not the conquering armies that everyone had feared. They were research stations, medical facilities, and educational centers. "We are not here to rule," Elena said. "We are here to grow." and to help others grow with us. Every species in the galaxy has unique strengths and perspectives. We want to learn from you as much as we want to teach you. But you defeated our entire military force without effort, General Corvin pointed out. You could simply take whatever you wanted. Power without wisdom is destruction, Elena replied. We learned that lesson well during our first period in Galactic civilization. We were weak then, so we focused on becoming strong. But strength alone is not enough. True progress requires cooperation and mutual understanding. She looked directly at Vextar. We are offering the Confederation a partnership, not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals working toward the same goals. Equals? Vextar laughed harshly. You have just demonstrated that we are not equals. You are so far beyond us that we cannot even comprehend your technology. Technology is not the only measure of worth, Elena said. Your people have governed a peaceful galaxy for over 1,000 years. That requires wisdom, patience, and diplomatic skill. These are things we still have much to learn about. Another human stepped forward. She appeared to be made of living light, her form shifting and changing as she moved. I am Sarah Kin, she said. I study social structures and governance. Humanity spent 1,000 years learning to transcend physical limitations. But we spent most of that time isolated from other perspectives. We need your help to learn how to use our new abilities responsibly. You want us to help you? Talani asked in surprise. We want you to help the galaxy, Sarah explained. We have the power to reshape reality itself. But power like that should not be used without careful consideration. We need advisors, teachers, and partners who can help us make wise decisions. Elena activated a final display. This one showed a vision of the future. Worlds were different. Species worked together on projects that seemed impossible. Space stations that existed in multiple dimensions. Fleets of ships that could travel to other galaxies. Technologies that could create new forms of life and consciousness. This is what we could build together, Elena said. Not a human empire ruling over lesser species, but a true galactic civilization where every being has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And if we refuse, Vextar asked. Then you continue as you are, Elena replied simply. We will not force our assistance on anyone, but we will also not allow anyone to threaten those who choose to work with us. The galaxy is large enough for many different ways of life. Vextar was quiet for a long time. Around him, his advisors waited. Nervously. The decision he made now would affect the future of every being in Confederation space. What exactly are you proposing? He asked finally. A new organization, Elena explained. Not replacing the Confederation, but working alongside it. A combined council where human and non-human leaders can work together on projects that benefit everyone. Shared research into consciousness, technology, and the fundamental nature of reality itself. We would maintain our independence? General Corvin asked. Completely, Elena confirmed. Any species that chooses to remain as they are will be protected and respected. Any species that chooses to explore new possibilities will have our full support. The choice is always yours to make. Dr. Chun activated a small device. Suddenly, everyone in the room could feel a strange sensation, as if their minds were expanding. For just a moment, they could sense the thoughts and feelings of the humans around them. It was not intrusion, but invitation. This is a small taste of what enhanced consciousness feels like, he explained. The ability to truly understand other beings, to share knowledge and experience directly. Imagine what we could accomplish if every species in the galaxy could communicate this way. The sensation faded, but the memory of it remained. Vextar found himself thinking about possibilities he had never considered before. We will need time to consider this, he said finally. Of course, Elena replied. We have waited 1,000 years to return to the galaxy. We can wait a little longer for you to make your decision." The humans began to fade away, disappearing, as mysteriously as they had arrived. "Remember," Elena's voice said as she vanished, "we did not return to the galaxy to conquer it. We returned to help it grow. The choice of how much you want to grow is entirely yours." Vextar sat alone with his advisors, thinking about the future. Humanity had returned to the stars, not as the weak species that had fled 1,000 years ago, but as something unprecedented in galactic history. They offered partnership instead of domination, growth instead of conquest. For the first time since the humans had announced their return, Vextar felt something other than fear. He felt curiosity about what the galaxy might become if different. Species truly worked together as equals. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human isolation was ending. The age of galactic cooperation was about to begin, and it would be unlike anything the universe had ever seen.